The expedient means chapter, which belongs to the theoretical teaching, expounds the doctrine of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, making clear that persons of the two vehicles can achieve Buddhahood. It thus eliminates one of the two errors found in the earlier sutras. But it nevertheless retains the provisional aspect, and fails to reveal the eternal aspect, of the Buddha's enlightenment. Thus the true doctrine of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life remains unclear, and the attainment of Buddhahood by persons of the two vehicles is not properly affirmed. Such teachings are like the moon seen in the water, or rootless plants that drift on the waves. When we come to the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra, then the belief that Shakyamuni first obtained Buddhahood during his present lifetime is demolished, and the effects of the four teachings are likewise demolished. When the effects of the four teachings are demolished, the causes of the four teachings are likewise demolished. Thus the cause and effect of the 10 worlds is expounded in the earlier sutras, and the theoretical teaching of the Lotus Sutra are wiped out, and the cause and effect of the 10 worlds in the essential teaching are revealed. This is the doctrine of original cause and original effect. It reveals that the 9 worlds are all present in beginningless Buddhahood, and that Buddhahood is inherent in the beginningless 9 worlds. This is the true mutual possession of the 10 worlds, the true 100 worlds and 1,000 factors, the true 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. When we consider the matter in this light, we can see that Vairocana Buddha seated on the lotus pedestal of the 10 directions is described in the Flower Garland Sutra, the little Shakyamuni described in the Agame Sutras, and the provisional Buddhas described in the sutras of the correct and equal, and the wisdom periods such as the Golden Light, Amida, and Mahavairakana Sutras are no more than reflections of the Buddha of the lifespan chapter. They are like fleeting reflections of the moon that float on the surfaces of various large and small bodies of water. The scholars of the various schools of Buddhism, confused as to the nature of the Buddhas of their own school and, more fundamentally, ignorant of the Buddha of the lifespan chapter of the Lotus Sutra, mistake the reflection in the water for the actual moon. Some of them enter in the water and trying to grasp it in their hands, others attempting to snare it with a rope. As Tiantai says, they know nothing of the moon and the sky, but gaze only at the moon and the pond. Having pondered this, I am of the opinion that, though the Lotus Sutra teaches that persons of the two vehicles can attain Buddhahood, this view tends to be overshadowed by the opposite view propounded in the sutras that precede the Lotus. How much more so is this the case with the doctrine that the Buddha obtained enlightenment in the remote past? For in this case, it is not the Lotus Sutra as a whole that stands in contradiction to the earlier sutras, but the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra that stands in contradiction both to the earlier sutras and to the first 14 chapters of the theoretical teaching of the Lotus. Moreover, of the latter 14 chapters of the essential teaching, all of them with the exception of the emerging from the earth in lifespan chapters retain the view that the Buddha first attained enlightenment in his present lifetime. The 40 volumes of the Mahaparinibbana Sutra, preached by the Buddha in the grove of sal trees just before his passing, as well as the other Mahayana Sutras except the Lotus Sutra, have not one single word to say about the fact that the Buddha obtained enlightenment in the remote past. They speak of the Dharma body of the Buddha as being without beginning and without end, but they do not reveal the true nature of the other two bodies, the reward body and the manifested body. How, then, can we expect people to cast aside the vast body of writings represented by the earlier Mahayana Sutras, the Nirvana Sutra, and the major portion of the theoretical and essential teachings of the Lotus Sutra, and put all their faith simply in the 2 chapters emerging from the earth in lifespan? If we examine the origins of the school called Dharma characteristics, we find that, 900 years after the Buddha passed away in India, there was a great scholar called Bodhisattva Saugata. At night, he ascended to the inner court of the Tushita heaven, where he came before Bodhisattva Maitreya and resolved his doubts concerning the sacred teachings propounded by the Buddha during his lifetime. In the daytime, he worked to propagate the Dharma characteristics doctrines in the state of Ayodhya. Among his disciples were various great scholars such as Vajrabandhu, Dharmapala, Nanda, and Shilabhadra. The great ruler, King Shiladitya, bowed his head in reverence, and the people of all the 5 regions of India abandoned their arrogance and declared themselves followers of his teaching. The Tripitaka master, Xuanzang of China, journeyed to India, spending 17 years visiting more Indian states. He rejected all the other teachings of Buddhism, but brought back the doctrines of the Dharma characteristics school to China and presented them to the worthy sovereign, Emperor Taizong. Xuanzang numbered among his disciples such men as Shinfang, Qiusheng, Piakang, and Ke Kai. He preached his teachings in Taotiazia and Shu Temple and spread them through more than 360 districts of China. In the reign of Emperor Kotoku, the 37th sovereign of Japan, Doji, Dasho, and other priests went to China and studied these doctrines, and on their return preached them at Yamashinadera Temple. In this way, the Dharma characteristics school was regarded as the leading school on Buddhism throughout all 3 lands of India, China, and Japan. According to this school, in all the teachings of the Buddha, from the Flower Garland Sutra, the earliest of the sutras, to the Lotus and Nirvana Sutras, which were preached last, it is laid down that those sentient beings without the nature of enlightenment and those predestined for the 2 vehicles can never become Buddhas. The Buddha, they say, never contradicts himself. Therefore, if he has once declared that these people will never be able to attain Bodhisattva, then, even should the sun and moon fall to the earth or the great earth itself turn upside down, the declaration can never be altered. In the earlier sutras, those sentient beings without the nature of enlightenment and those predestined for the 2 vehicles were said to be incapable of attaining Bodhisattva. Therefore, they conclude, even in the Lotus or Nirvana Sutra it is never said that they can in fact do so. Close your eyes and consider the matter, the members of the Dharma characteristics school would say. If it had in fact been plainly stated in the Lotus and Nirvana Sutras that those who possess no innate nature of enlightenment or those predestined for the 2 vehicles can actually attain Bodhisattva, then why would the great scholars such as Sangha and Vajrabandhu or the Tripitaka masters and teachers such as Xuanzang and Taizong not have taken notice of this fact? Why did they not mention it in their own writings? Why did they not accept the belief and transmit it to later ages? Why did the Sangha not question Bodhisattva Maitreya about it? People like you, Nichiren, claim that you are basing your assertions on the text of the Lotus Sutra, but in fact you are simply accepting the biased views of men like Tian Tai, Mao Lo, and Ding Yo and interpreting the text of the sutra in the light of their teachings. Therefore, you claim that the Lotus Sutra is as different from the earlier sutras as fire from water.